Hey Gene Squad, welcome back to the Gene Scene. I'm your host, Noah Quichin, and today we'll be discussing the Average Joe's response video. This is a rough one, folks, but before I get started, I wanted to mention that BLAST is a dangerous tool in the wrong hands. If it's being used for something this important, you must ensure you have proper experience and proper prior knowledge on the topic. You also need to make sure you have ample resources and not just like a fragment of DNA. BLAST is a blessing, but it can very easily become a curse. Alright, first off, I wanted to clear the air and discuss that this is not Joe's fault in any way that his wife has a disease, as that was inevitable. But an accurate diagnosis could have avoided such terror on the future struggles that his family would have to face. Because so much time has passed without him having the knowledge he needed, damage has been done. Those two children each have a 50% chance of inheriting the disease, the same way that his wife did. This becomes a major social view issue, as now you're forced a decision that will very well define the children's lives. If one or both of them have Huntington's, they are essentially living with a ticking time bomb that they know will cut their life short at some point. This is where the two of them need to have a hard thought conversation about this, as it will be a defining factor in their child's lives. On a deeper note, it feels like Joe has figured out or semi-figured out his next steps concerning the child. But for most, this situation is very difficult. It's a very hard place to be in because whether the baby is on the way or there's a plan to have the child, Huntington's can disrupt everything. It raises social dilemmas for the parents that they now must decide what they would like to do with the child. As when the child is born, having to grow up knowing you only have half the life expectancies of those around you if you're lucky, it's a very difficult thing to live with. But there are even more questions that arise from this, and I'll speak to about 3 of them, which are: do you test the child for Huntington's? Do you tell the child? And who do you consult? First off, testing the child for the disease, I believe, is important because knowing what the future will entail is very important. As seen in Joe's case, knowing of the disease could have prevented so much earlier. But next, when should they tell the child? Now, the child will find out at some point in their lives, but it's whether they want to grow up with the knowledge of their impending disease, or do you drop the bombshell on them as they get older? Knowing that your life is going to be cut short can cause people to think completely differently. The child maybe won't try as hard in school, or will act out, as they have the feeling of nothing to lose. But it would also encourage them to live life to the fullest. So there's a pro and con to any way of telling them. It's just a matter of what Joe thinks the best option is. Finally, Joe, whatever you decide to do, you could share here, but I cannot stress enough how important it is that you do not share the results of the test. Because if the test is positive, life insurance companies will skyrocket, as your children are now at high risk of getting this disease. The screening should not become public to avoid anyone trying to profit from it. It's unethical and wrong. So, with everything being said, personally, I think you should test a child because it's in their best interest to know early. And I would tell them at a younger age, so it's not a random pup and telling them that now their whole life is about to change at some random day. Now, it is a major legal issue that's going to devolve from this because I know, you know, and Joe knows that he had the right idea in the sense that the result was titled as Huntington's negative, but somebody faked that result. Somebody did that on purpose with the intent of hurting somebody. And we're gonna get to the bottom of it. But that's for tomorrow's video. This has been the Gene Scene. Keep rocking.